Welcome, and I hope you're well. Before we begin, I would like to make a simple observation. Most people begin a doctorate believing they understand broadly what lies ahead. After all, universities provide handbooks, regulations, timelines, and guidance. There are books on research methods, academic writing, and thesis preparation. Yet when I speak to doctoral candidates, I often hear a different story. Many describe being surprised by aspects of the experience they never anticipated. Not the technical aspects of research, but the human aspects. The uncertainty, the self-doubt, the changing relationship with their work. The challenge of making decisions when there is no obvious answer. This programme was developed because those experiences deserve to be discussed openly. If these questions sound familiar, then you're already beginning to understand something important about doctoral study. The questions themselves are rarely the problem. The fact that you ask them is often evidence that you care deeply about what you're doing. Over the years, I've noticed that many highly capable doctoral candidates spend far more time questioning themselves than people realise. They often assume that everyone else is more confident, more productive, or more certain. In reality, uncertainty is one of the few genuinely universal features of doctoral education. One of the reasons this programme exists is because there is a gap between how doctoral study is described and how it is experienced. The formal description is usually accurate. The lived experience is often very different. You can understand every regulation, every milestone, and every procedural requirement, and still find yourself wondering whether you're making progress. The handbook explains what must be done. It rarely explains how it feels when you're doing it. This slide represents how doctorates are often described. There's nothing incorrect about it. The difficulty is that it makes the process appear far more orderly than it usually is. Research has a habit of refusing to behave exactly as planned. Ideas evolve, chapters are rewritten, data creates new questions, feedback forces you to rethink assumptions. When people look back on their doctoral journey, they often remember the spaces between the milestones far more vividly than the milestones themselves. This slide contains words that appear repeatedly in conversations with doctoral candidates, not because candidates are failing, but because they're learning. Research places you in situations where certainty is limited. You're expected to exercise judgment before you feel fully ready. That experience can feel uncomfortable, yet it is also one of the reasons why doctoral education can be so transformative. I sometimes think we forget something very obvious. Research is conducted by people. Supervision is conducted by people. Examination is conducted by people. Understanding the human dimension of doctoral study, therefore, is not a distraction from research. It is part of understanding research itself. The strongest researchers I've known combine technical competence with self-awareness, professional judgment, and the ability to work productively with others. If there is one message I wish more candidates heard at the beginning, it is this: progress is rarely linear. You may have weeks where everything seems to move forward. You may then have weeks when nothing appears to happen at all. That does not necessarily mean something is wrong. Research often advances in uneven stages. Looking back, progress becomes visible. Living through it, progress can feel frustratingly difficult to detect. This is one of the most important slides in the presentation. Many people assume that doctoral success is primarily determined by intelligence. My experience suggests that intelligence is necessary but inefficient. Doctoral study also requires persistence, adaptability, judgment, and patience. Research often rewards those who continue moving forward despite uncertainty, rather than those who simply seek certainty before acting. As you progress through the remaining episodes, 3 ideas will appear repeatedly. Sometimes explicitly, more often implicitly. Identity, judgment, relationships. These themes help explain a surprising amount of what candidates experience during doctoral study. A doctorate changes more than your knowledge. It changes how you think. It changes how you approach evidence. It changes how you deal with complexity. Many candidates only fully appreciate this transformation after the doctorate has finished. The thesis is important. The person who emerges through the process is equally important. Research is filled with decisions. Few of them come with complete certainty. One of the most significant developments during doctoral study is learning how to make reasonable decisions despite incomplete information. That skill extends far beyond academia. It is one of the lasting benefits of doctoral education. Doctoral study can feel deeply personal, yet it's also relational. Supervisors influence direction, peers provide perspective, participants contribute experiences, examiners shape outcomes. Understanding these relationships often helps explain why doctoral experiences differ so widely between candidates. The questions on this slide appear straightforward. They're not. Behind each lies a collection of assumptions, expectations, and human experiences. That is what we will explore throughout the programme. Think of the remaining episodes as a guided conversation about the doctoral journey. Not a formula, not a checklist, a conversation. The intention is to help you recognise experiences before they become overwhelming and understand them more clearly when they do. You will not find guarantees. After many years in doctoral education, I've become cautious of anyone claiming certainty. Doctoral journeys are too varied for that. The purpose here is not prediction, it is preparation. You will find observations, perspectives, experiences, questions, and occasionally some uncomfortable realities. Not because doctoral study should be viewed negatively, but because honest conversations are often more useful than reassuring ones. This programme complements supervision. It cannot replace supervision. Your research remains unique. Your supervisory relationship remains important. My role here is simply to share patterns and observations accumulated over many years of doctoral education. So why does this program exist? It is built from my own experience as a supervisor, as an examiner, as a researcher, and many, many years ago as a former doctoral student. I would like to leave you with one final thought. Most doctoral journeys are lived in the spaces between the milestones. The registration date matters, the submission date matters, the viva matters, but the real journey often occurs between those events. In the difficult conversations, the uncertain decisions, the moments of doubt, the gradual development of confidence. As you move through this program, I encourage you to keep returning to one question. What kind of researcher do you hope to become? In the long run, that question may matter more than any individual milestone you encounter along the way.